people think कि Marriott के इतने सारे assets है all over the world and all. It's just
Nothing.
they're handling the operations and all.
Marriott in India does not own a single asset. They'll probably do BA, BCom, and then MA, MCom, and then they'll probably try appearing for CAT, spend another 2 years, then they'll probably try appearing for UPSC, spend another 2-3 years. By 27, 28, they'll take up a job for 20,000 rupees.
So hi Mr. Mehul, I'm actually really excited to talk to you today. I've seen a few of your interviews in the past, one with you did one with Charles and a few other folks you've done. So I just want to ask you, what got you into entrepreneurship? Why do you love it so much?
So I always wanted to be my own boss. I always thought that I can't work in boundaries and defined areas. I was always a risk taker. I always thought that I would do well if I take a calculated risk. Defined roles and parameters never used to excite me. What excites me is something which is challenging. What excites me is that what is beyond a certain defined area. What excites me is what is beyond defined periphery. What excites me is unknown. It scares a lot of people that entrepreneurship is risky, but I think that is what excites me. What excites me is when you're probably at your lowest low and you still know that you can make up. That is what excited me. When you're doing your job and all that stuff, you know that you'll do well. If you're marginally fine, also average worker, you'll get your decent fat paycheck in a time. If your pedigree is good enough, you will do well. But I think that never excited me. What excited me was to bring and make a legacy, and that can only happen once you become an entrepreneur.
How old were you when you became an entrepreneur?
I was 39. I'm 44, so 39 years, 5 years now. I think it's important. What I realize is it's important to take up an entrepreneurship role in primarily the area where you've excelled in or where you've studied in. So I did about 17, 18 years of hotels, thoroughly got trained as a management trainee, studied in probably the best of the places, worked in the best of the brands, and that gave me a very strong foundation of a hotelier. And that were the skill sets which I essentially used to become an entrepreneur, only in the field which I have studied in. If I would have probably done something else, I would have failed drastically. So I think it's important that you, at least for me, an average a person with an average brain cells to excel in the field where you've studied and where you've probably done at least 10-15 years of your job in a good brand, because then your fundamentals and your nuts and bolts are absolutely clear.
Did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur when you started out in your
Always. It was always inside me. I never knew when was the right time, but I always knew that defined rules, working under people, yes boss culture, yes sir, no sir, was never for me. Never ever. So I always knew that I'll do something on my own.
So in your company, what's your leadership style? Is it yes, no, yes sir, no sir to you, or is it?
So Ria is sitting in front of me and she's smiling. Well, I can be very ruthless, arrogant. I would not say arrogant, but I can be harsh, I can be rude. I'm on the face. Sometimes, and yes, sometimes I overtrust people, and that leads to issues. But yeah, I'm also learning. I'm also a human being. Yeah, I mean, we keep learning till our last stage. So, but otherwise, I prefer an open door policy. I prefer people coming and telling me what is right, what is wrong. And maybe at the spur of the moment, I would say this is what it is. But then at the back of the mind, I do think over it and come up with a reasonable solution. So it's not that it's an autocratic or a dictatorship rule. It's just that sometimes I do hear people out, and then I see what is right, what is wrong, and then we take conscious decision. That is how it is.
What is Signum Hotels?
So Signum essentially is a Latin word. It means creating a significant experience. It means endorsing a hotel. So when we created this brand 4.5 years back, our tagline essentially says experiential stays. So when we started off in January 2019, we were fortunate enough to sign 12 hotels in a span of 8 months before COVID hit. So we definitely created a lot of value proposition to our owners in terms of getting connected to nature, in terms of the Signum boutiques which we had, to the chef's garden which we created, to some open air theaters which we did. So there was a lot of unique experiences which I found initially was missing when we talk about hospitality and the customer. Typically, I used to see that hospitality in hotels is all about nice structure, nice rooms, but feeling connected to people, feeling connected to nature, feeling connected to your experiences was missing. That's the reason we created this brand. And currently, when we operate our hotels, we ensure that all the Signum experiences are created in all the hotels, which surely means connecting with the local food and beverage experiences, to local art and culture, to local flora, fauna, to the best tech. So it's a combination of great tech with the roots on the ground. That's what Signum is all about.
So how does it work when you say you sign new hotels? How does that work?
So we are an asset light company, which means we don't own any assets. Our expertise essentially is our skill set, our tech, our people, our central reservations, our sales and marketing network, our board, and the very fact that we've spent so much of time in the hospitality. So when we say we sign a hotel, means we put our branding there. We run the property for a period of 10, 15 years, 20 years, whatever is the tenure, based on our brand standards, and we are responsible for the entire P&L for that particular property without investing. Our investment is primarily into our people and our tech. Otherwise, as a capex, the entire expenses from the owner's side. So we are an asset light model. We focus on the profitability, staff, their trainings, SOPs, food and beverage experiences, which standalone hotel owners do not have that kind of bandwidth. That's what we do. We like typical how a Hilton or a Taj or a Marriott functions. We are a very small brand, but the model is the same. So when we say sign up a hotel, this is what we do. We rebrand the complete hotel as per our brand standards.
Right. So most people think कि Marriott के इतने सारे assets है all over the world and all. It's just
Nothing.
they're handling the operations and all.
Marriott in India does not own a single asset, just for your information. And it's touched 9,000 crore as a revenue, $1 billion revenue in a given span of time, because of the fact that it's the largest hotel company in the world, a global leader, the number one company, brilliant company to work for. So that's the model we follow. They don't own any assets. Assets is owned by owners, but they give it to Marriott to run the property for them.
Got it. So let's talk about you acquiring 18 Indian hotels you have right now and 500 plus global apartments and all. So what are the parameters you look for before choosing a particular property to work with, you could say?
So there's a complete detailed architectural checklist which we follow. Of course, for hotels, it's all about location. We ensure that when we pick up a hotel, it is great in terms of numbers. The business has to be at least 8 to 10 months. Then we also spend a lot of time with the owners. We need to work with the owners who have forward-looking thinking, and they are not the ones who only see hotels as a profitable business, but they also see hotels as a good hospitality business to give it back to the society, to empower the people, to bring about the experiences across in the hospitality and the hotel. So we actually work with certain partners. When we see the product, we need to see the entire back end, front end, licenses. There's a due diligence which is done. All legal work is done. Then there's a technical team, which actually visits the property, sees how the entire room and look and feel, soft changes, which is what we call as a property improvement plan, is given to the owner to really upgrade the product, because that's when we bring in the increased revenue once the product is upgraded, and of course followed by some excellent services. So combination of all that stuff is put across in our detailed checklist, and based on that parameters we sign up a hotel. And then of course the financials which is involved, and it has to be a win-win situation for both us as a brand and the owner also. And of course more important is that we need to work for the owner, because ultimately it's his asset. We need to ensure that we give him the maximum and the best return on investment, provided there are certain parameters and conditions which is defined by the brand is met. Else we don't work. We clear on that front.
When you talk about कि you guys are responsible for the P&L for the property and all, like उसमें क्या रहता है exactly? मतलब कि what are you influencing? Is it just about experience that you're giving through your staff and people?
No. Yeah. So it's all about cost control also. Our procurement is centralized. For example, there is a hotel in, say, Rajasthan, which is there, a standalone. He will never be able to get the price benefit of an XYZ item, because he's got only one property to negotiate with the vendor. We've got multiple properties, so we get a better deal when it comes to the vendors. So when it comes to getting a staff, it's much more easier because we've got a pool of talent. We've got our own academy in which we train our own students and place them there. Because we're from the industry, to get people for the industry is very easy, especially there's a lot of outflow of people which has happened after COVID. So the certain DMCs or OTAs which we work with have a better financial understanding with us, even if it means that there's a reduced percentage of commission which we pay to the OTAs compared to the standalone. That is the benefit which is extended. Global offices also push sales and marketing. An owner who has a property in Rajasthan will never have an access to somebody who's traveling from London or Dubai. We've got our offices there, so he gets a boost there also. The entire cost is centralized. Our vendors, what we deal with our vendors is contracting for the entire chain. So of course the price what we get is much better than what an owner would get. Hence the cost comes down. We bring in efficiencies. We get our own software which helps us to control the cost by defining, for example, a food cost, the menu engineering, how the recipes are made, and then what essentially is the cost and what should be the selling price. Owners will not understand all this stuff. That's when the profitability starts coming in. When we say P&L, which means we are also responsible for the profit and loss for the property. Once you start controlling the cost, of course, then the profit starts coming in, and in one way we start pushing the sales up, and the other way we start controlling the cost. Hence the profits for the owners increase. So that's the model we operate upon.
Got it. So why did you decide to go globals from the get go?
So this idea came to me during COVID time actually. During COVID, I still remember it was 28th of March. Every hotel was shutting down. Lockdown had happened. I was still fortunate enough to go to my office. And then I thought probably that one thing which I could do is possibly pack up everything and go to my hometown, which is Shimla. The other thing I thought was, then why should I not use this advantage, this situation as an advantage to open offices across in different countries and speak to the owners and tell them not to sell their assets. Because what was happening during that time was, every owner we were speaking to, they were only wanting to sell their hotels. That even if it is a distress sell, we will do it. So my idea was to tell the owners, just let it pass, operate with bare minimum staff, which is 4 or 5 people also, just to ensure that the property is maintained. But do not sell, because COVID is not going to be forever. Yes, it will last for some time, but once you are over with this phase, and then we'll help you to come with the real time and help you to cross that situation. So that was the thought process which came in. So we registered our company in Canada, in London, in Middle East, in US, and we spoke to a lot of owners. Although we signed few hotels also, and these are hotels which will take time to open up, because the existing operating agreements are very, very strongly controlled in terms of the local jurisdiction and law. But we managed to make a lot of inroads with a lot of standalone hotel owners in US, Canada, Middle East and Europe. And that is how we managed to get business signed up in UK, and hence we handling a large inventory, and similar case in the Middle East. So then I thought, why can't an Indian brand become a global brand? And that's how this entire thing evolved.
So two questions now. Like, how did you find the contact of these owners, and was it difficult convincing them not to sell their assets?
See, how do you find the contact? You are anyways connected in the industry. I have a lot of my batchmates who are in US, in across the globe. Yes, so getting the details was not an. In fact, a lot of my friends were the general manager of these hotel owners who wanted to leave their jobs and come back to India because there was no certainty. So I asked them, listen, give me your owner's number. Let me at least try to convince them and speak to them. Yes, it was very difficult. I still remember every day during COVID time, I used to come to the office and spend 2 hours, 3 hours in the night, because we were discussing with the owners in the US time, and very, very difficult to convince, and because nobody is interested now. But still, we had one Mr. Kunal Patel. He owns, I think, about 100 odd hotels. There are a lot of Patel strong community back in US. I mean, you're Gujarati, right?
Yeah.
So Gujaratis are the best businessmen, I would say. So the Gujaratis have they technically really rule the roost when it comes to the hospitality industry in US. So we were lucky enough to speak to a lot of owners, and the guy did not. He actually signed up 2 hotels with us, and he did not sell anything. And now he's extremely thankful that he did not budge into or give in to the fact that he must do a distress sale, because that was really 1/4 the price which was being offered. So it was tough, but that's how it is. Life is not. It's not easy to convince people. I mean, like you said, you like to excel in sales, and that the toughest job in this world is to convince the other person. And if it's a financial transaction which is involved, that's the toughest one, because ultimately, who is a successful person? If I'm able to sell my idea to you, I'm successful. But if you're unable to buy my idea, then I'm a failure. Simple as that. Either I sell you my idea or you sell me your idea. Anyone who does it is a successful person. That's how the businesses are built up.
So when we were talking before the podcast about, you were asking me a few questions. I was quite unsure about what I was saying, and also is that would definitely be a problem, right, in sales?
You were unsure, you said?
Yeah, I was unsure about my
But
answers.
you are just 18, yeah? It's okay. I never knew what I was supposed to do till whatever time, yeah? It's fine. It doesn't matter. As long as you are clear in your head that you want to do an XYZ thing, that is more important. It could be at the age of 19, 20. I decided I want to be a hotelier when I was probably your age only, because after 12th I cleared my PUSA, and then I went there, and then I was a management trainee, and because I was clear, either, since I come from a defense background, there were two things which I wanted to do. I cleared we had a common entrance test for engineering. I cleared that, and I cleared REC, but I was very clear I was never meant for engineering. Army is something which probably came in because of my roots, but that what enamored me was the hospitality industry, and I was very clear when I was doing my 10th, 11th, 12th that hotel is something which I want to be, because the two things which it gives you to travel, and it's a very glamorous field, which I thought that time, which is not the truth. And then you meet the best people, which I was fortunate enough to meet the best of the people, Mr. Tata to the best of the movie stars to the heads of state. I mean, again, I was very, very fortunate to say that I've been, because I worked with some very, very strong brands. So I was very clear that time. In your case, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. But it's always good that if you're very clear in your head what do you want to do. Even if you want to probably become a writer, pick up that and start dwelling on that as a passion. And because your passion should become your profession, that is where you start becoming successful. I see a lot of youngsters, not even your age at the 22, 23, 24, they are unsure what they want to do in their lives. They just don't know. They'll probably do BA, BCom, and then MA, MCom, and then they'll probably try appearing for CAT, spend another 2 years, then they'll probably try appearing for UPSC, spend another 2-3 years. By 27, 28, they'll take up a job for 20,000 rupees.
Oh man.
And that's it. I'm sure you would agree with me. Lack of clarity is something which is there, and I sincerely urge from this podcast of yours to younger generations. Be crystal clear. Even if somebody has to become a guy who would repair a tire or bicycle shop, you could still make a good business out of it. Or somebody is very clear that I will only do a job, be very clear about it. But pick up whatever you clear and have a very crystal clear thought process in your head. That will define it. It is not necessary that only entrepreneurs become successful. In fact, 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs fail. In jobs, at least you're sure of your salary coming in. Plus, if you put in extra efforts, you would at least do well and reach a certain level. So whatever you do, I think one should give their best. That's something which I should say. One should never try 2, 3, 4 things that okay, let me try this. If this doesn't work, let me try that. It never works. Have a solid plan A and do not have a plan B. Do not think of any backup plan because it never works. Because in your mind, then it always works. Na? ये नहीं चलेगा तो कुछ और चलेगा, वो नहीं तो कुछ और नहीं. Just go with one plan and that's it.
Yeah, because that's for me, even for me right now, that's the biggest challenge right now. So even I when I said I work at a job, it's like I'm trying to sell, I'm working at a sourcing and procurement company only. So I'm trying to sell, and then it's like every time I'm unsure, ki, am I doing this correct? Am I doing this wrong? But I think that's the process, and eventually you find an answer.
Correct. You get an answer only by trying, learning, and all. It is imperative that you fail and fail drastically in your initial years, because when you fail, that is where you and when you fail, ensure that you pick up a learning from that particular failure itself and write it down. Write it down so that the next time when you are in a situation like that, you won't repeat it again. But it is important to fail. I think I probably would have failed 100 times before I became successful. But it's important to fail in life, and the earlier you fail, the better it is, because the more stronger you become in terms of facing the hardships of essentially what is called life, in terms of how you deal with people, what are the expectations of the society, how do you handle peer pressure. If you start getting everything right in the first place, and probably you're born with a silver spoon and everything is right, everything falls in place, I think later down the line, one failure will actually push you at least 10 years back, because you've never experienced failure in your life. You've never seen what does it mean to hit the rock bottom. So it's important to have a good combination in life, which is full of failures and successes also. For every 100 failures, even one success is worthwhile and worth a try.
I want to talk about something you mentioned, ki the guys that are like, have a silver spoon in their mouth, they never fail. So I was even recently thinking ki, I was just wondering about different topics. One phrase that came into my mind was privilege is a curse because it does not allow you to fail. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. However, see, I would not say. See, I would probably disagree a bit when you say privilege is a curse, because I think it's in a country like India, if you're privileged, you are in the best section of the society, because we are a developing country. The growth which we've seen in the last 8-9 years, we've never seen in the last 60-70 years. So if you're privileged that you've got the right education, you've always had a shelter, you've got your all meals, you're privileged to travel, I think it's a good foundation to start off on a successful path. However, a lot of people do not even have that privilege. I know of a lot of people who probably did not even have one square meal, but they were gritty, they were determined, they were absolutely so strong in their determination that they knew that they would do well. But probably 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000 people or 1 in a lakh, that is the kind of determination which is there, but very, very select people. But if you're privileged, 50% of your job is done anyways. And it's a good, I mean, I would rather say that it's the gods being kind if you are privileged to at least get your fundamentals, because then you are at a certain level, and the only thing what you need to do is just to take a leap of faith after that, because your foundation what you call as a privilege is taken care of. But it's not a curse. I mean, it's not a curse for sure.
Can you talk about hard work? Meaning, we everybody knows hard work karna padta hai, but define it. Like, what was a phase in your life where you were absolutely working hard, and what did that look like?
See, when I started my career, when I was a management trainee with a chain, and I used to put in about 16 hours every day. And I had this thing that till the time I do not learn a particular task, I would keep doing it again. So I still remember when I was in my training period, we had a management training program for 2 years. I used to do my night shift, but I used to come to the hotel at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to even cover the afternoon shift and see what happens during the afternoon shift. The reason why I'm saying this is that the only way you could excel in whatever you do is first to know your job well. People will not respect your position. People will only respect you for your knowledge. This is something which my father taught me. I could become a CEO by probably having or inheriting 100 crores. Okay. But if I do not know my job, I am doomed to be a failure. Either I lose complete money, and of course, will never be able to get respect of the people, because they'll like, "Hey, this guy has only inherited the wealth." So, hard work only teaches you your job well. You've got to be smart also. You've got to be smart to get your work done for sure. But initial 4 5 years, one must put in a lot of hard work to ensure that you excel in whatever you do. It could be maybe a CA who absolutely understands the entire, not only the balance sheet, but of course the cash flow for the company, and the cash to debt ratio, to debt equity ratio, to CRR, everything in detail at a young age, so that once you are at a certain age and level, at least people can't challenge you because of your work. And that comes in purely because of hard work. You have to know and go through the grind to understand your job. It could be as simple as serving a dish in a 5-star hotel, which seems easy, but then of course there is a way in which you hold your plates, to the direction it is served, to the course wise, and understanding the menu and dishes, and which is what we learned during our hospitality days. But you've got to excel, because if I do not know that task, how possibly could I go to a hotel which is run by us and probably being offered a main course in a dessert plate, and I don't know the difference between the two plates, and I probably feel that okay, it's the same thing, or probably being offered a butter knife instead of an AP knife, or a dessert knife, or whatever. I mean, I'm talking about the technicalities. So whatever you do, learn your job extremely well, and that can only come in because of hard work. Hard work definitely means repeating the task again and again till the time you excel that particular task itself.
Got it. Can you just quickly brief us on your career journey, and like what all did you have to do until you felt like okay, it's time to be an entrepreneur and start Signum?
So my father was a senior army officer, so I've traveled across different schools, and then of course when I still remember I was in 10th and we were staying at one of the hotels. I think it was Taj or something. That's when I decided I think this is the best life. I used to see those people standing at the reception wearing a nice suit, and I said, "Yaar, ye to zindagi achhi hai." And I still remember one of the actors checking in. I said, "Yeah, what else you want? You living in a 5-star environment." You meeting the actors, you eating the best food. I thought probably whatever the guests enjoy the food, that is the food which is also being offered to the staff also. But it looked a very nice, glamorous. That is when I decided. I told my dad I want to be either in hotels or I'll probably join the Indian Army. So I cleared after my 12th. I cleared my hotel management. I went to Pusa. I was in Delhi for 1 year and 2 years in Chennai. Then once I passed out in my final year, I got placed with Park Group of Hotels as a management trainee, and then I became a manager, and then I worked in Taj for about 12 years, ITC for about 3.5 4 years, and then 2016, when I was doing extremely, I would not say extremely well, but yeah, I was very comfortable in whatever I was doing and doing pretty well. That's when I decided I think I've learned my bit, and now I think it's time to take a plunge and start on my own. I spent another 6, 7, 8 months in a lot of brainstorming as to what should I do, how do I come up. That's when the idea of Signum came in. I said I the only thing which I met a lot of my friends, and I said what should I do. Then I realized I should only do what I've done and what I've excelled at, and that is hotels only. And of course, you can't essentially buy a hotel, and you can't just take a hotel like that because it needs a lot of money. Then I started out with a small amount of a lakh, set up a company, got the entire branding, nomenclature, designs, all that stuff. I still remember it. I spent about 8 months on the road, traveling to different owners and selling the brand Signum to them. Of course, I got thrashed everywhere because they said, "Who the hell are you?" And I still remember one of the owners telling me. Then I told him, "Sir, I was a director in Taj and all that stuff." So he says, "You did well because you had Taj at your back. As an individual, what is your claim to fame?" And that really hit me hard because I think that was the fact. Then I said, "Sir, मैंने 12 साल ताज में दिए." वो कह रहे वो तो ताज में दिए ना, आप खुद क्या हो, आप तो खुद भी नहीं हो. Then I got my first hotel, which was the 28th hotel, and they paid me 30,000 rupees a month. So imagine coming from a couple of lakhs as a package, and I came crashing down to 30,000 rupees a month. This is 2017. 30,000 rupees is what I started off. And I like, what the hell is all this shit? I mean, I was earning lakhs, traveling business class. कहाँ फंस गया मैं आके? But then gradually started building up, because then I realized nobody knows Mehul Sharma. People knew Mehul Sharma because of Taj. People talk to Mehul Sharma because of the brand. But Mehul Sharma has to be an entity made. Signum nobody knows. Signum people have to buy in. It takes a lot of effort, energies, and all that stuff to talk about the brand. Today I'm sitting in front of you comfortably, nice privileged office. I never had all this stuff. It was all built up from scratch. So, but it's a journey which I love it. But if somebody tells me to do it again, I will never do it. Even if somebody offers me 100 crores, I will not do it, because it drains every bit out of you, everything out of you. But you got to be gutsy, you got to be gritty, you got to be clear. Out of every 100 times I failed, probably one time I managed to be successful. Every one success, there was 100 failures. But the only thing was that I decided, enough of this, I will not give up. There is no plan B. And that's the reason we made a private limited company, because you can't shut a private limited company. And there's very stringent laws as per the MCA, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So the idea was to make a company which you can't just shut it down just because it's not working out. So I made situations so tough for me that I do not have a plan B. But yeah, that's how it is. And then today we are sitting and enjoying this conversation.
But surely you must have a level of respect that is just different, that you didn't have or wouldn't have if you never took on this venture.
But I'll tell you very honestly, it gave me sleepless nights, especially going through COVID time. We had no money, no income. I still can't imagine how we survived. We was trying to pay money to people. We struggled and struggled and struggled. Struggle is also an understatement, but I was fortunate that I got support from my family, my wife, my parents, my board members, and all that stuff. But otherwise, I think it was very, very tough phase.
Was it worth it though? All that hard
Of
work.
course, 100% worth it.
That's the thing most people think about. Like, itna hard work kare, but will it
Absolutely
be
worth
worth it or not?
I love every bit of what I do. I eat and dream and breathe hotels. I love every bit. But now is the time when I'm starting to enjoy the success. But it takes a lot of determination, and the very fact that you don't give up is something which is the key to success. You can be baffled. I mean, there have been days when you get hit hard by everybody, by your employees, by your vendors, by your board, by your owners, everyone, and you have no money. So you go through all that shit. That is the time when you really think that enough of this thing. But if you go back to sleep and say, listen, one more day, I will give it a shot, and you wake up the next morning, again get ready and go for work, that is the day. Because 99% of the people that go back and say, listen, yeah, I'm not going to do it, I think let me go back to a job. That's the reason why if you see the reasons why companies fail is because the people who actually run the companies or are the forefront, you give up, and the day you give up, then that's the beginning of the end. So yeah, I think that's something which I learned to be extremely gritty and thick-skinned, and not to give up.
So, I have a question about the hospitality industry. Is there such a thing like brand loyalty? कि it's just like मैं ये city में जा रहा हूँ. What's the nearest near my like airport, near the airport? What's the nearest? Let me just go there.
See, the brand sentiments have changed. People during my times, I still remember we had very loyal customers of Taj. I'm sure still do, but it's a very competitive world. People switch brands because of the benefits which they enjoy. There is a certain very strong loyal brand towards Marriott, towards ITC, Oberoi, Taj, and it will continue to be. However, the share would have reduced because of the influx of multiple other brands. But uh, one tends to stay in a brand which has a very high recall value when people know me, when they know my likes and dislikes, when they know my food taste, when they understand everything about me. It's a comfort factor, and certain brands work to that level of delivering the service excellence. So brand loyalty shifts, but yeah, certain people who have traveled across the world and they understand the best lives, they will continue to stick around to certain brands and would not change easily. But certain strata, middle level, upper middle, would probably change because of a price reduction or higher discount which they offer, or the loyalty program is so lucrative that they feel like, I don't care about any of the brand, let me just stay in this property because it's closer, it gives me a better rate, and I can enjoy much more.
What's the future you're planning for Signum Hotels?
Oh yeah, we will. My vision is to be present in across all the continents. We are already there in three: Middle East, India, I mean Asia, and Europe. We will surely opening soon in the US and other places. We want to make a good, strong global Indian brand. I mean, our roots are Indian, but we want to tell the world that what Indians are. Of course, Mr. Modi, after the G20 summit, he's shown it to the world what Indians are capable of. We want to take his vision to the next level by telling the world how effectively Indians can run hotels across the globe. That's the vision.
But how are you onboarding so many like hotels at
It's
once?
a good time. हम क्या कर रहे हैं? हम तो कुछ भी नहीं है. Look at the other brands, yeah. They're signing hotels left, right, and center. It's a good time in the industry. If you see the shares of hotels like Lemon Tree or East India Hotels or IHCL, they have jumped by more than 100%. Taj is at about 400 plus as a share value. I still remember when I picked up a share, it was at 110 rupees. And it continued for that price. They just gave a profit of 1500 crores for a quarter. The demand has increased, domestic tourism has increased. It is backed by a very strong vision of the government. Tourism is a very strong sector pushed by the government. In some places, in some states, it is in the verge of getting an infrastructure status. The taxes are being rationalized. Government is supporting a lot. A lot of people inbound domestic tourism, people like me and you are traveling extensively. Owners have realized that it's a good potential business. Hotels, they're opening hotels left, right, and center. If you see the reports by certain companies like HVS and all that stuff, the hotels like growing like nobody's business. So we are also riding the wave.
So what advice would you give me, since even I'm semi related to this industry like sourcing and procurement? I'm in sales as well. So what advice would you give me to capitalize
My
on this?
advice is when you love what you do, take that as your bread and butter work, so that you don't have to think that you're going for your work every day. It should come from within. You must love. If you love procurement, it should come from your heart. Then you will never realize or never feel that I'm doing a job every day, because it becomes a part of your life. If I don't go to office now, I feel weird. Sunday को भी I feel very weird कि यार why am I not in office? But anyway, that is what it is. So I work 6 days a week, and I love coming to my office. I love reading a lot. I love speaking to a lot of owners. Every day we keep getting a lot of new hotel leads and all this stuff. This is what I love. So love what you do, and you'll never feel that you're working a single day of your life. It could be procurement, it could be sales, it could be marketing, it could be anything in this world. But it should come. And love is not something which probably you want to. It has to be pushed onto you. It is something which should come from within. That is the day when you will start becoming successful, because it's coming to you naturally. Even if you want to become a good podcaster, for example, or an influencer or Instagram, you must love it, what you do. Your posts, your reels, your the people you inspire, how you connect with people, it should be so relevant, and it should come from your heart. And if you genuinely like speaking to people, it must come from your heart. And it should not be something which you're doing it because it brings in certain amount of money. Money is always an after effect of what you do. If money is your initial aim for the first 5, 7, 8 years, then it's trouble. First, get your fundamentals, nuts and bolts in place. Money will always come and go also. I've seen money coming in and going also, so it's okay. Fundamentally, you've got to be very, very clear in your head.
Got it. So that's about it, man. I really enjoyed your conversation and your advice as well.
Okay. And if you need anything in future, any help and advice, please reach out there.
Definitely. We'll stay in touch.
Okay. Do well. Thank you.